God, son of a bitch. Okay, that's one latch, and then there you go. What's going on, guys? How are you? It's Wei Koh from Revolution. I'm going to start first with our traditional international greeting. Now, I had my Spanish friends tell me that I forgot Spanish last time, so let me see if I get it right. So, hello, bonjour, ciao ragazzi, hola amigos, shalom, assalamu alaikum habibis, and also ni hao. How are you guys? Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm going to do an unboxing for my Reservoir Hydrosphere. This is a special edition watch that was made for Revolution to celebrate our first boutique, which will be launching in the Maldives this year. And it's a really cool version of the Hydrosphere that's made in bronze. But without further ado, let's take a look at it. So the first thing that you'll notice is that the watch is inside this really cool Pelican style case. So this is one of those waterproof cases that people put their photographic equipment in, dive equipment, you know. I believe in assassin movies, they always have their sort of assassin kit in there, but of course, we are lovers and not fighters, so we have no assassination gear. We have instead a really dope watch. The first thing that you'll notice is the latch is actually really tight, and I'm now gonna open it, struggling somewhat on camera, but whew. There you go. The reason why it's so damn tight is because it's waterproof, right? So let's open this up. And the first thing you'll see is this beautiful artwork that's been done by, commissioned by Francois Moreau, the president and CEO of Reservoir, in homage to the journey in the Maldives that we are taking with this watch. And then the second thing that you'll see is the watch itself. So you'll see it right here. So the first thing you'll see on the right-hand side is the watch, and then you'll see a little vial. So guys, for those of you who grew up in the 1980s, this vial will look familiar to you, but in the meantime, it's not party favors. It's in fact a couple of screws for your watch. I'll explain where they go later. And then of course there is a rubber strap, right? So the watch is on a Zulu strap. So this Zulu strap is one that we spec'd out. It's a beautiful tan colored Zulu strap with bronze colored keepers as well that perfectly match the color of the bronze of the watch. So what's really interesting here is that you'll see that this is the first Reservoir Hydrosphere that actually has these horn attachments which allow you to fit a NATO strap or any NATO straps. And then what happens is that you go into the back of the watch and you unscrew these horns here. So there's screws here, and then you will attach your rubber strap directly into the case that way using the attached screws in the vial. That is a vial for screws and not for party favors from the 1980s. So what can I tell you about the watch? Well, let's talk a little bit about Hydrosphere. The Hydrosphere is a really cool diving watch from Reservoir, which is a brand that specializes in retrograde minute and jump hour indicator watches. So of course, a jump hour watch is not something altogether new. Back in 1928, you already had Cartier's Tanka Guichet that had a jump hour indication and a dragging minutes indication. And I think the jump hour watch that it's one of my favorites, and I think we most associate that complication with, is probably the Genta Mickey Mouse watches from the 90s and early 2000s. But in the context of Francois Moreau's brand Reservoir, he wanted to create watches that were inspired by instrumentation, especially gauges and dials that you would have in cars or other forms of equipment. The one gauge that I always used to look at all the time when I used to have a Porsche 930 Turbo was the turbo boost gauge. And that gauge was really interesting because you'd hit the accelerator on your car and basically nothing would happen for a couple of minutes until the turbo spooled up in this kind of phenomenon that used to be called turbo lag. And then it would shoot up past one bar and you just go hurtling towards the horizon as if you were going to die. And many times people who drove those cars actually met some rather challenging fates because of the odd implementation of power in that automobile. But nonetheless, but let's look at the watch. So the first thing that you'll notice is that it's the only jump hour retrograde minute watch in the world. And I remember when I first saw this watch, what I found remarkable about it was it's like, well, how do you get a rotating bezel to work with a retrograde minute indicator, right? And being a bit of a smartass, you know, of course I went to Francois Moreau and I said, listen, there's no way this watch can work because a diving bezel has an elapsed minute scale on it, and your hour hand jumps back from 60 back to 0 every minute. So there's no way your scale can match up to show elapsed dive time. He said, look closer at the scale. And what he showed me was that actually, if you align this triangle here to anywhere on the dial, so actually this is a perfect time to do it because we're now at 2:52. So if I align the arrow to the 52nd minute, that means in 8 more minutes, at 60 minutes, it's going to jump to 0. But what's incredible is that the scale on this side of the watch is synchronized so that when you jump here, so if I'm at 7 minutes here, it will jump precisely the 7 minutes on this side as well, which I think is really cool, right? So the bezel is actually divided into what it says is used before 45 minutes, so you'll have a full 45 minutes of elapsed dive time in a traditional scale, and then it says use after 45 minutes. So that's divided into red markers and blue markers. Red is for before 45 minutes and blue is for after 45 minutes. So what that means is if you look at the blue side of the scale after your hand jumps back from 0, it will coincide precisely with the elapsed dive time that you were at on the other side of the scale. That makes sense. Let's take, for example, if I were to put the watch at 45 minutes, right? So you align the triangle here, and you see there's only 15 minutes left of your dive on this side. So you continue here, and when you get to the end of the dive, the hand jumps back to 0, and look there, it says 15 minutes. So it continues. This blue side of the scale continues with your elapsed timing calculation. The thing I like best about this watch is just the style and the beauty of it. You know, we were kind of thinking about the Maldives, and we were thinking about, you know, that kind of wonderful moment this year when we'll be able to go to these fabulous destinations and really kind of enjoy and participate in our lives again. And we can't wait to open our store there. But we also wanted to create a watch that has that same sense of like hopefulness and, you know, uplifting and edifying kind of a message to it. And we felt that this watch really captures that. So first you have this really, really beautiful bronze kind of sunrise colored case to it. Again, with the keepers and the horns in the same material. And then you have a dial that's got this beautiful sunray effect on it that is kind of goes from like copper to amber to almost rose gold. And it's kind of like, you know, reminiscent to us of the sun rising from the water at dawn, which we hope is a nice symbol of the dawn to come in terms of this new year. So that's essentially it with this watch. I urge you to, if you live in Singapore, to come by, try it on, but for us, it's a great watch, and I'm really enjoying wearing it. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully you're having a great 2021.